The next video that Jerry had sent me was a pairs. It was a doubles. Erica is on the Harley and Jerry is in behind her following. This is a two-man, and they're going to go through this course. Erica's on a Harley. Jerry is on the Beamer. And a couple things I want to note, and I had mentioned it in Jerry's previous video. And I understand the Harley is better in the sense that you can hear the motor, which obviously kind of gives us some indication of what's going on with the rider's inputs. One of the things you're going to notice, Erica pulls away from Jerry through this. No harm there. Erica's a solid rider. Jerry's a solid rider as well. But one of the things that Erica does, and I'm going to point it out because I was mentioning it in Jerry's other videos, is that Erica is finding little areas on the track where she can twist that throttle and squeeze a foot, 2 feet. She doesn't ride as a balance ball as I recommend, but you're also hearing her scrape hard parts. So one of the things I commented on is some of the faster Harley guys tend to, I don't want to say road race the bike, but in a sense, either ride straight up and down with it, or in some cases lean their body weight on the inside so that the bike can stay more straight up and down and not drag hard parts. I think that is potentially a necessity once you start picking up the pace on some of these Harleys. So on the Beamer, that's not an issue. You can lean that bike over pretty far. You can drag hard parts, crash bars, but you're pushing pretty hard or going pretty fast when that happens. So I just want to walk us through this. I'm not going to beat Jerry up too much. He looks like he's a big guy, and I don't want him to kick my butt, so I'll be relatively nice. All right, so here we get going. So right there, as I mentioned, we get going. Like this race is on as soon as you start moving. What's right there, Erica has that little twist to the throttle. Just listen to the motor. You see here, just a little bit, clutches out a little bit more than normal. She's on the throttle a little bit more, and she gaps Jerry just a little bit. I understand the Beamer's not very loud, so you might argue, well, yeah, Jerry's doing it. I think I saw the front end come up a little bit, maybe a little bit, but Erica had her weight forward a little bit. She drove through that section. So every little section like that, you're going to see. That's kind of a fundamental difference with these two riders, is you're going to see Erica just squeezing a little bit more juice everywhere on the track, not really doing anything else different, and she starts gapping Jerry. Everything else more or less similar. You hear it right there? She got straight up and down and said, okay, well, I have this little opportunity to accelerate that bike, so she does. Also, we're gonna, counterbalancing, important. Yeah, so he drove harder this time than in the last individual run, which is good. Definitely hard. But I also think he's driving a little bit harder because he's got to keep up with Erica. So he's like, man, I gotta move, I gotta get going here. Right there, right where Jerry is, she drove pretty hard right there, and Jerry is not accelerating hard here. So just again, I know I'm harping on it, but remember, these are all tiny little spots. It's free time for you to knock off your course. It's free. You don't have to be fast. You don't have to be real skilled. You can just give the bike a little bit more gas, let the clutch out a little bit more. And so part of the reason people don't do that, in my opinion and kind of my observation, is they haven't really practiced clutch fully engaged or fully out, and then back to the gray area. Clutch fully out, back to the gray area. So fast figure eights are great for that. I don't say slow, tight figure eight, full locks, because in that case, you're pretty much always in the friction zone because it's just, rapid transitions back and forth. Set yourself up a big figure eight where you have an opportunity to accelerate that bike and practice coming out of the figure eight, accelerating hard to the next cone, getting on the brakes, setting up that friction zone, dropping back in, turning around, and accelerating out again. If you just get your mind wrapped around the bike's not leaned over, it's not turning, accelerate. So there's another example. She accelerated right in this spot here, and he didn't. She took advantage of this opportunity to push the bike. And look at that. She's gapped him really quick right here by, 8 bike lengths. So right around this spot here, now Erica's having to wait up. She does a great job of timing this stuff, but if she doesn't get her timing right, she's going to crash into Jerry. So same thing, free time right here. I'm telling you, she's gapping Jerry almost only because every time her bike's straight up and down, she asks herself, how hard can I push the bike? Can I just give it a little squeeze? And she does. Other than that, they're actually pretty evenly matched. One thing that would help Jerry, follow. So yes, you want to know where that rider is in front of you when you're doing pairs. But you also, your job as the number 2 guy, yes, is staying with them close enough so when you guys are doing circles and stuff, they don't have to wait up for you or worry. You want your front rider to go as fast as they can, and it's the number 2 to stay with them, not pressure them. But also the number 2's challenge that you're going to have is you want to watch your number 1 and stay with them, but you need to watch the course too, and remember that you are riding the course. So in some cases, we're going to see Eric is getting ahead of Jerry a little bit, and then he's kind of cutting in because his head and eyes are really with her and not with the course, and he tags an inside cone. So you really, really want to be careful of that when you're going through here. So there she did a great job of just keeping her timing good and not slowing down, and just missing, just dropping in before Jerry comes around. So Jerry accelerated right here, which was good. But watch his body language. The bike's throwing him back. Watch. See his head? His head kind of snaps back a little bit. So what does that tell me? He is not on the ball. If that was a balance ball, the bike would have just thrown him off the back. Why does that matter? Because once he gets snapped back a little bit like that, now he's got to get on the brakes. That's upsetting you, the rider, upsetting the chassis. When you can stay balanced on that bike all the time, accelerating, braking, turning, it's putting your mind at ease as well to be comfortable for the next thing. You're constantly ready for the next direction change. And just being ready really helps calm the course down for you and get you to actually start to go faster because the inputs are ready to be gone through, rather than, whoa, the bike just threw me backwards. Let me resettle myself. Oh, I got to get on the brakes. Whoa, let me resettle myself. Oh, I got to turn. And you're kind of riding around the course a little bit behind where you need to be. And that's going to slow you down because you're not going to have the confidence to be like, okay, I'm ready to accelerate. No, you're not ready to accelerate. You got to get your balance corrected first. So big thing in helping kind of calm your platform down so that you feel comfortable getting on the throttle and turning it. See there, Jerry knocked over an inside cone. How come he did that? Well, where was he looking? Let's just see here. Okay, well, he's looking right here. He knows she's ahead of him. So oftentimes, and I can't read his mind here, but oftentimes, especially in pairs, yes, we hit inside cones just because we're trying to go faster, but he's trying to keep up. And when you're trying to keep up, you tend to start cutting the course harder than if you were just pushing hard all on your own to try and get a good run. So I don't know, that might be the case. There's a lot of little micro adjustments. This is a circle. Why are you making all those micro adjustments? Because you haven't planted the bike in a good place. So he clips this cone. Now he's adjusting. See all those little adjustments? We don't want those. That upsets the chassis, that slows you down. That tells me you're having to think about 5 turning movements instead of just one smooth arc around that, which is faster, smoother, upsets the bike less. And for the mental math aspect too, it makes the pattern a lot simpler in your mind. You plant that bike where you know you need to be here and ride it all the way through. Like set it up on the rails and blast through the circle. And that's it. Okay, so the most important thing with that is really, yes, the balance ball, all those individual things. Where he's lost ground in a lot of ways is Erica is just accelerating her bike a little by little by little by little, but everywhere. She's consistently pushing her Harley just a little bit. She's not trying to kill herself. She's not trying to blow the motor up. Just a little bit of push here and there, a foot here, a foot there. And lo and behold, she's 30 feet in front of Jerry in sections. So just think about that. It's free time